In the heart of Amakala village, everyone knew Neka. She was always present at every market gathering, every ceremony, and every festival. Neka seemed ordinary, perhaps a bit too quiet, but friendly enough to those who knew her. She lived in a small, neatly kept hut near the village square, with palm trees providing shade over her thatched roof. The villagers thought she was content with her simple life, weaving baskets, fetching water from the stream, and tending to her small garden. But Neka was far from content. Beneath her calm exterior was a woman driven by hunger for power, wealth, and control. She felt overlooked by the elders, who never asked her opinion on village matters, and by the villagers, who only respected the wealthiest and most influential families. Neka was tired of being invisible, and she was determined to change that. But she wasn't going to wait for her turn to rise, she was going to take what she believed was hers. While others lived their lives openly, Neka had a talent no one knew about. She was a master of eavesdropping. She could stand in the shadows, blend into the background, and listen to conversations that were not meant for her ears. By the time the sun set, Neka's ears were filled with whispers and secrets. What no one knew was that Neka had a network of tiny holes drilled into the walls of the most important huts in the village. She had spent months carefully digging them, making sure they were small enough to go unnoticed but large enough for her to peek through or listen to private conversations. It was through these holes that Neka gathered information, piecing together the private lives of her neighbors like a puzzle. At first, it was harmless. She overheard Obina, the chief's son, planning a secret wedding with a woman from a rival village. She found out that Mama Eda, the powerful head of the village market, was hoarding money meant for the village. But these secrets weren't enough for Neka. She craved more, she wanted something bigger, something she could use to shake the village to its core. One fateful night, Neka's ears caught the conversation that would change everything. It was during a heavy rainstorm, and the village was quiet. Everyone had retreated into their homes, and the pounding of the rain on the rooftops drowned out most sounds. But Neka, as always, was listening. She crept to the back of Ifoni's large compound, the wealthiest man in the village, and crouched beside one of her secret holes. Inside, Ifoni sat with a stranger, a tall man wrapped in a dark cloak, his face hidden from view. Neka pressed her ear to the wall and held her breath as she listened to their hushed voices. "The treasure is real," the stranger said. "It is buried beneath the old baobab tree on the outskirts of the village. But you must move quickly, there are those who would seek it for themselves." Ifoni's voice was low but full of excitement. "If I find the treasure, no one in this village will stand in my way again. I will rule over Amakala as its true king." Neka's heart pounded in her chest. A treasure. Beneath the baobab tree. The ancient tree had stood at the edge of the village for as long as anyone could remember, its roots deep and gnarled, twisted with time. It was said to be sacred, a place where the ancestor spirits watched over the land. But no one ever spoke of treasure. As Ifoni and the stranger continued to talk, Neka's mind raced. She had to act quickly. Ifoni planned to dig up the treasure the following night. That gave her only one day to prepare. If she could get to the treasure first, everything she had ever dreamed of, wealth, respect, power, would finally be hers. But Neka wasn't just cunning, she was careful. She knew that simply digging up the treasure wouldn't be enough. If she wanted to secure her place as the most powerful person in the village, she had to destroy Ifoni's reputation first. That way, when she uncovered the treasure, no one would dare challenge her claim. The next morning, as the village bustled with activity, Neka began her plan. She visited the women in the market, starting small conversations here and there, dropping hints about Ifoni. "Did you hear? I saw a woman sneaking out of Ifoni's compound last night," she whispered to one of the market sellers. "And it wasn't his wife." The gossip spread like wildfire. By midday, the entire village was buzzing with talk of Euphony's supposed affair. The women clucked their tongues in disapproval, and soon, whispers reached the ears of the village elders. Euphony, who had always prided himself on his spotless reputation, was summoned to explain himself. While Euphony defended himself before the elders, Neka slipped away into the forest. The baobab tree loomed ahead, its branches spreading wide like the arms of a giant. The air around the tree was still, almost too still, as if the land itself was watching her. But Neka didn't care. Her mind was set on the treasure. She began to dig furiously, her hands clawing at the earth, pushing aside roots and stones. The sun began to set, casting long shadows over the forest, but Neka didn't stop. Sweat dripped down her face, and her muscles ached, but she pushed through, driven by the vision of gold and jewels sparkling in the moonlight. Finally, after what seemed like hours, her fingers hit something hard. Her breath caught in her throat. She cleared away the dirt, revealing a large, ancient chest, its surface carved with strange symbols. Neka's hands trembled as she pried it open, expecting to find untold riches inside. But what she found was far worse. The chest was filled with scrolls, old and crumbling with age. Confused, Neka pulled one out and unrolled it. The words written on the parchment were in a language she didn't recognize, but as she stared at them, a dark energy seemed to pulse through the air around her. Her hands shook, and she dropped the scroll as if it had burned her. Suddenly, a voice, deep and full of power, echoed through the clearing. Asterisk, those who seek the wealth of the ancestors with greedy hearts shall be cursed. The spirits have watched your treachery, and now you shall face the consequences of your deceit, asterisk. Neka's blood ran cold. She stumbled back, her heart racing. The ground beneath her feet began to tremble. The wind picked up, howling through the branches of the baobab tree. The shadows grew longer, darker, until they seemed to rise from the ground and twist around her like vines. No! Neka screamed, trying to pull herself free, but it was no use. The shadows tightened their grip, and the ground beneath her split open. The last thing she saw was the ancient chest sinking back into the earth, the symbols glowing faintly before everything went dark. Back in the village, no one knew what had become of Neka. Days passed, and her absence was noticed, but no one dared to ask too many questions. Some said she had left the village in shame after being caught in her web of lies. Others whispered that the ancestors had taken her as punishment for her wickedness. But the truth remained buried beneath the baobab tree, along with Neka's greed and ambition. The village of Amakola returned to its quiet life, but the story of Neka became a warning, passed down from generation to generation. And in the deep of the night, when the wind howled and the shadows danced, some said you could still hear the faint echoes of her final scream, swallowed by the earth and the spirits she had tried to deceive.